number 1, do not bring school into your home. Hi, I'm Janelle. Welcome back to Stay at Home Boss. New video every Saturday. I'm here to give you my top 5 tips for starting homeschooling stress-free, overwhelm-free. You got this. So my first tip was don't bring school home. You do not need to go get stacks of books and a desk and pencils and wonder how you're going to schedule 8 hours of work into your day. Nobody needs to be forced to sit on their butt and cram information for 8 hours a day. Your home should be somewhere where it's comfortable, where they're free to express themselves, move their body, think freely, ask questions. This is what the home is all about. And them being home is what's going to allow them to develop into a self-aware, conscious, loving person who feels confident in who they are and feels confident in learning, and that they will be supported in any endeavor of interest that they choose. Tip number 2. Use everyday conversations. I know your children are asking a million questions a day, and it's so easy to feel like we're too busy, right? It was not a good time for a question right now. And if that is the case, I'm going to give you some language to help with that. That's a great question, and, I really want to sit down and talk to you about that because that was such an interesting question. So when we do sit down for dinner, let's talk about that. Getting a marker board and putting it on your wall specifically for the things that your kids say is such an incredible tool to have. It makes them feel important and heard in those situations where you really are too busy. Now, a lot of the time, we can't answer their questions, and the other thing that blocks us from really answering our children's questions can be that we feel like they won't understand. Maybe the answer is really complex. So I want you to rethink the question that they asked and see if it's more specific than you thought it was. So maybe it's a complex answer, but maybe there is just one specific thing you can answer without going down a rabbit hole. And they'll say okay and run along and forget all about it, and maybe come back with a question pertaining to your answer. And not only do we feel like maybe the answer is too complex, and we can give them a very simplified answer, we also need to remember that they are whole, competent beings now. The things I can explain to my 2-year-old and speak to my 2-year-old as a human, competent being who can understand things. I think that, especially for a 2-year-old, we feel like we have to dumb things down and that they won't understand, and there's no point. You're just a kid, you won't understand. That's kind of one of those beliefs that has been ingrained in us. You're just a kid, you won't understand, don't worry about it right now. But if they ask the question, really, or if they're interested in something, it is incredible what they will understand. They are so competent and will absolutely listen to you if they've asked the question. A really neat fact about the human brain is that when a human does his own research and asks his own questions, he will retain the information better than, say, you sat down and tried to give them a biology lesson. It might have been a really cool subject, it might have been really cool information, but if they didn't ask to receive it in the first place, the chances of them remembering are a lot less. So it's really, really important to get those questions answered. Tip number 3 is choose a focus time. a day is way too long for a child's butt to be in a chair being told what to learn. Um, so I have found personally that 1 to 2 hours a day is enough for me. Um, and we do, some movement before and after. And this is for that time when you do need to do the handwriting, the math, the reading. Are there subjects like that where you do really want to sit and pour into your children one-on-one? Choose that focus time. And I highly recommend it also being early in the morning. I don't know if you've noticed, but by 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, my brain doesn't work anymore. I don't want to cook dinner. I don't want to be on social media. I really don't want to do anything by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, right? I'm sure you've noticed that natural decline in you on the daily. This is why a solid morning routine is so important, because our brains are fresh and bright and clean. So our routine looks like eating breakfast. The kids play a little bit when I clean it up. And then once that kitchen table is clear, they come running to the table. They know that I'm going to give them my attention. I love that feeling of grounding and connection and pouring into them. That makes me feel like I did something that mattered that day, that I moved that needle forward in really pouring into them and helping them with what they love. And it's so amazing to see them learning and getting so excited to master those skills. So think about how much time you really want to put in during that focus time. Maybe you want to not only do the handwriting and the math, but maybe you also want a focus time for science experiments and arts and crafts, where you are right there giving them your undivided attention. Let's tell me in the comments what works for you. Number 4 is listen to their interests. So my 5-year-old is really interested in robots, and he's even been asking how movies are made and what video production looks like on the back end. And so we've been watching making of documentaries, and my daughter has been into cake baking, so we found a really neat show on Disney Plus that actually was children baking cakes, and it gives definitions of cooking terms and cooking tips, and we sat and took notes while watching that really neat cake baking show. And also with things like reading and writing. When my daughter, who is now 8, when she was between the ages of 4 and 5, I told my husband, I said, we have to make sure that she learns how to read by 5, or we've missed our window, and it'll be really hard for her after 5. Their brains, they have to learn by 5. And I found that not to be true with my current 5-year-old son. I didn't push reading and writing on him. We read lots of books every night, but I didn't push the sitting down and making him do the work, right? And a little bit after his 5th birthday, he started, what word is this? What letter does this sound make? How do you write this letter? How do I write these words? Can you read me this book? And even pretending to read books, and he would be so proud, Mommy, I read this whole book. And it is such a beautiful thing to allow them to develop their own interest in learning. So this is where the child-led learning comes in. And if you're worried that it won't happen and you need to make them learn those subjects, I urge you to try to take a step back and trust them a little bit more. And, just give it a month and see what kind of questions they start asking and interests they start taking on. It's really a beautiful thing, it's really a beautiful thing to see your 5-year-old run to the closet and say, can I do my letter tracing? And because he sees us writing, and he wants to do it too, because he's around us all day watching me make grocery lists and watching his sister write, and it really develops that passion on their own. So that tip is child-led learning, and you're going to become their resource. So I want you to think about how you see yourself as a parent. So let's shift and reframe from being their teacher. I need to teach you this. And we're going to shift to I'll be your resource. I'll be your support, and I'm going to love you and support you and get you all the resources you need to whatever endeavor that you choose, right? So really actively be their resource. I mentioned a marker board on the wall. Getting a marker board to write down anything that you might want to get for them later, any mommy, what is magic? And you're like, I can't really answer that because there's so many answers to what is magic, or mommy, I want to learn about magic. It's not something you can just explain. And so I had a lot of fun going to the library and finding books on herbal magic, on law of attraction, and it's not that she read all the books, it's that in optical illusions and tricks, silly tricks, she saw the spectrum of what magic is, and it just opened her eyes a little bit, and honestly the interest in magic faded away. Just being that resource and not thinking, okay, now I have to teach my daughter everything about magic, but let's get her some resources and let's see what she does with it, right? So you're going to shift from teacher to being a resource. Tip number 5 is that you are the curriculum. So I want to ask you, are you setting an example of what a lifelong learner looks like? Are you developing your own skills? Are you reading, listening to audiobooks, listening to podcasts, and then challenging yourself, right? So we want to set an example of a lifelong learner. And then the other thing that we can do is we can deeply model the things we're going through on a day-to-day basis. So whether it's something fundamental like planning groceries, and you explain it to them instead of just saying, well, I've got to order groceries. And, mommy, I really want to do this project with you. Well, I have to do groceries. Let me show you all of the work it really takes. So we have 7 days in a week, and we have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks. And I also want to make sure it's healthy. So I'm trying to think about the ingredients, and then I also need to order it a day ahead. And so if I want groceries on this day, then I need to order it the day ahead. And so we are not taking the easy way out of I have to order groceries. We are going to break everything down for them that we are going through, because they're going to have to go through these real life things too. So there is a fundamental example. And then another example is with our self-talk and our self-discipline. And so we can start to deeply model what's going on in our heads. And this is really important because we all have this self-talk. We all think a billion thoughts, and our self-talk will really become their self-talk, right? And the way we respond to things. So an example is, I really just want to sit down right now, and I really don't want to cook dinner. I'm so tired. But I'm not going to order the pizza. I'm going to get up. I'm going to make some lemon water. I'm going to turn on some music. I am going to light some incense. And we're going to make a healthy meal. I'm going to start some rice and some beans, and at least it's healthier than pizza. And show them that, yes, I did want to stay on the couch and order pizza, but here's what I did to get myself to the other side because I know better. And then the next time that they really don't want to do the thing they know they need to do, they will have that self-talk of how do I get myself from here to there, and I'm going to do it anyways, and it's going to feel good on the other side. So it's really, again, not taking the easy way out, not keeping it to yourself. You want to share yourself with them, and that is the best thing you can ever do, is develop yourself, be a lifelong learner yourself, be an example of that type of person that you wish for your children to embody, and then really share yourself with them, your thoughts, your feelings, your struggles, how you're problem solving it, the mistakes you made. You're not here to be perfect either. You are here to say, yeah, we're human, we make mistakes. Let me tell you about a funny mistake I made. In just that connection, and then the next time they fail, it's okay, because mommy failed too, and she's still fine, and we learn, right? So this is how we really educate and nurture our children. You are the curriculum.